All right. Welcome to another edition of 42 Stories Anthology Presents. We have Elizabeth Davis, one of the writers of the anthology with us. So, Elizabeth, why don't you tell the writers, why don't you tell the people watching, and probably some writers too, the pen names that you used in the book so they could find you.
First of all, I think the audience is a circle of
Yeah,
writers and audience.
I agree.
Some of my pen names was Captain of the USS Deadfish books, The Masked Swordsman, and Mothman.
Oh,
I
well,
thought everybody else kept just doing variations of their name, wasn't taking the task seriously.
yeah, totally agree. But they were kind of going by the examples I gave, because if you look at the examples, I put like B. Allen Mullen, Bam, Bertram Allen Mullen, and something else like that. So they were kind of just copying what I did. I like what you did, where you were creative. What was with Deadfish though? I was curious about that one.
Deadfish Books is a micropress run between me and my mom.
Okay.
But if you wonder what a micropress is, it's like a small indie press. Except instead of being run out of someone's basement by two people out of someone's basement, we don't have a basement because we live in limestone country.
Oh, I see. Well, why don't you let the people know your bio? It doesn't have to be 42 words.
I'm mentioned before, I'm Elizabeth Davis, co-owner of Deadfish Books. I live in Dayton, Ohio. If you heard about the Jesus statue that burned down about 10 years ago, struck by lightning in the middle of a lake, that was us.
Hmm. All
I
right.
I live in a house with one husband, two cats, and now either four or five apple trees.
Hmm. So you get some free apples. Are they green or red?
Uh, the so far the one we've gotten is red.
Hmm.
This year the squirrels stole all of our apples.
Oh, that's too bad.
So good news is our trees are producing. The bad news is the squirrels love them.
But at least they're
So probably,
cute.
so probably do the trolls, but we don't see them.
Yeah. I mean, squirrels are adorable. I actually kind of miss them in Japan. We have no squirrels here. And
That is something I noticed on my trip to Japan.
oh, you've been here. Where'd you go?
I did the reverse golden tour through Osaka,
Oh,
Kyoto, and Tokyo. I
hmm.
might end up in Okinawa for a trip this summer,
Wow.
depending on my husband might have to go over there for work, and if he gets flown over there on business time, that means he only have to pay half to fly me over.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
That sounds great. Let me know if you come to Japan. I'm here at least for a few more years.
yes, and we also did go to Nara, which was my husband's favorite spot,
Hmm. Yeah.
which you might remember as a bowing deer.
Well,
That
I
will
live
move
in
you.
Hyogo. It's right near there.
Oh, well, I nearly lost my glasses, but besides that, our trip went off without too many hitches.
Okay.
Deer nearly ended up taking my glasses out with the antlers.
Oh, that's surprising. They're usually pretty kind to people. As long
It's
as
because
they,
we both bowed at the same time and rose up at the same time.
oh, that's why you were just greeting each other and it was a mistake. Okay.
Yeah, it was more of the we did not realize doing that the antlers should be at the right angle to grab my glasses.
Hmm.
But there were babies out, so we were having fun teaching the babies to bow.
That's sweet. You mentioned in the book that you have four stories. So what are the story titles? Where can people find them?
You can find the stories. The first one is The Unbearable Heaviness of Being and Vampire section. Then we have The Revolution Will Begin When the Moon Rises in Her Power and the Werewolf section. Event one title, which I'm just double checking because I always mess it up. So if I disappear for a moment, that's what's happening.
Okay.
Adventure is not only for those who search, which is in fantasy, and after the war, we tried to forget what we made,
Hmm.
which is in steampunk.
Yeah. I really liked your work when you sent stories in. I got kind of excited. But I did that about a lot of writers, but with yours, they accepted four, so it's clear that you're really talented. Why don't you give one of them a read? Well,
What
for the circle to hear.
The Unbearable Heaviness of No Longer Being by Elizabeth Davis. His grave torn cloak flapped in the wind as he opened the window. The weak sunlight, too strong for his brittle skin, streamed in as he fell forward. His ashes were caught by the skyscraper wind. No one looked up from the flowing street below.
You're still not appearing on the screen, but oh, there you are.
I'm
Okay.
back now.
Yeah,
I just had,
yeah, that's
yep,
why
I
you,
disappear every time I look at Google Docs.
okay. I just thought it was that you had like vampire powers where you could come and go.
No,
That's
I'm
why.
trying for lichdom.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
Vampire powers really impinge on my social life, though I already dislike the sun and consume blood on occasion. The Chinese place has questions about me.
Not surprised. Where's your writing space, by the way?
My writing space is basically wherever I am.
Hmm.
Norm Way too often is at the desktop at work, pretending to be productive, much to my boss's chagrin. Occasionally is a laptop on top of a TV tray in the living room because my husband makes sad noises if I go too far from the sofa during relaxing evening hours. And way more than I care to admit has been on the phone,
Well,
especially when I'm trapped at the lake house.
yeah. Well, a phone can be a great place to write, I think. It's the more modern way, you know?
It's very, but yeah, but it's also very taxing on your wrist.
Hmm.
Not recommended for those who already have wrist troubles.
Yeah. Hmm. I think wrist troubles just happen when you're in your 40s. I'm noticing. I was just asleep on a bus, and then next day I had a sprained wrist. So,
I look, I think I micro broke my toe some weeks ago tripping on a curb. So
hmm. Yeah, it's just getting older, that's all. All that stuff
uh
you say about milk is a lie.
no, I have um juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. So everyone's like, "Oh, it's so terrible getting old. You're achy all the time." I'm like, "Actually, that's my baseline."
Oh. Hmm. Well,
You mean it? Is
hmm?
it normal to wake up in the morning and unstiffen all your joints?
Oh, I thought it was normal. It's not.
Yeah.
Hmm. Let's go to the writer questions though, because I want to know about, well, before the writer questions, let's start with some kind of short ones to break the ice.
Yep.
What are some of your favorite places? You mentioned you were in Japan.
Yes, and I enjoyed greatly. My favorite place was to visit was Osaka because it is so laid back to the rest of Japan.
Yeah.
Our Airbnb was right next to a bakery. You could not ask for a better location for your for the house. Even though I had no clue I was eating for breakfast because I only managed to get thank you and the word for water down.
Hmm.
My language skills are underwhelming.
You didn't know what you ate or you didn't order? Which one was it?
It was more of I would pick up the bread and then find out later what the bread was.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Oh, I thought this was meat. Turns out it's chocolate."
Hmm. That sounds exciting, you know. As
It
long as
was it was very exciting.
hmm.
Also, we took a trip visiting Osaka. Sorry, phone is having some issues with the power, so I'm just moving out of the closet.
Oh, get out of the closet.
This is just how the day has been.
Hmm.
Make jokes about about coming out of the closet. But we took a tour of Osaka during the day, so most people off at work, looking around what the city used to be like and what it's like now.
Hmm.
And then because there was no one else in the schedule, the tour guide's like, I'm just going to take you to some of my friends and their businesses.
Oh, hmm.
And you can't really ask for a better tour of the city than just casually visiting a bunch of people who your tour guide knows.
That could be the best way because then you get the real side of the place you're visiting.
Oh yeah, it was nice to see that. That's why I said you can't ask for a better experience,
Hmm. Yeah.
especially when his friends involve a winery,
Yeah.
in which we learned about Osaka wine.
Hmm. Well, if alcohol is your thing, I live in a city called Itami, and they're a really small brewery, and it's not even well known to people who are Japanese. And so,
Yeah, my husband's more of an alcohol drinker than I am, so he would love to check that out.
yeah, you'll have to check it out the next time you're here.
The other favorite places is Louisiana around Baton Rouge and New Orleans area.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have family there, so I ended up visiting a lot as a child. In August.
It's a great music town.
Yes, next time we go back, I my plan is to take some time with a long chair, very large bottle, an umbrella, and lots of money for tipping because At least the last time we were there in the French Quarter, there was a section partitioned off for a whole jazz band. And I'm like, you know what? You could go to that or the parks and just make a day out of the street performers.
Yeah,
But
for
New
free.
Orleans is the only place you can go to hear a tuba solo.
Mm, yeah.
What I was going to recommend people check out the next time they're down there is the Agricultural Museum,
Mm,
which is somewhere between a museum and a hoarder's collection of old things they found, including houses,
mm,
which definitely gives an atmosphere that for any writers is certainly worth wandering through, especially the cemetery of gravestones that have been scavenged from cemeteries that have been destroyed by floods or other disasters.
mm,
And
yeah.
the other thing that is a prime inspiration writing location is often Lithuania, the Witch's Hill,
Oh, okay.
which is a collection of sculptures which I cannot find very many pictures of all
Cool.
the ones we saw on the internet, at least in the English speaking internet, is where someone during the Soviet occupation, technically they had a dictator who was, so they were technically not, but you know,
Mm,
they made wooden statues based off of fairy tales
mm,
of Lithuanian fairy tales. So we were going through and getting the various stories about Naringa, the Snake Prince. There's the Gate to Hell, by the way.
mm.
There's witches
In
bringing
Lithuania.
booze into town.
Mm,
A magnificent dragon coming from the east.
wow.
Lithuania. This is near Klaipeda. It's
Mm,
about 5 minutes trip away. At the time, there is no bridge between this island and Klaipeda, and they like it that way. The
mm,
people on the island.
mm,
And if you want around Klaipeda, is a city that is trying to figure out its identity, and I imagine that times have not made it any easier for it.
mm.
But it's decided that one of its pathways forward is through whimsical sculptures. So you can search wander the city searching for various such as the musicians around him are performing in one area of the city. There
Mm,
is a creepy spirit coming out of the river, another point that I got a picture of.
mm,
Those are easier to find on the internet than the ones on Witch's Hill.
mm. Okay. Sounds like a
And
good
Witch's
bucket list place to go.
Yeah, Witch's Hill is what made me think of, we really need to write a book. I wrote a short story based on Naringa, and the response I get was, you wrote a summary for a novel. So
Mm,
that's in the writing goals list.
mm. You could do it. I think it'd be a good novel. Some short stories become novels, and it's a good outline for them.
Yeah, the real thing is I would eventually want to find a Lithuanian translator because I feel like giving its inspiration, it would only be fit to have it come to have at least the people of the country have a chance to read. So we let this person in and they wrote a crazy diesel punk story about novel about Naringa.
Hmm. So how are you going to find a Lithuanian translator?
That is a good question. My only guess is Reddit is to see if there's a subreddit for Lithuania.
Oh, maybe. Well, there's an app called Hello Talk, and you could find like a language partner, so.
Yeah, I figured it was either going to various translator groups
Hmm.
along with Reddit Lithuania and asking the question because I normally if I'm doing that I'm going to hit up at least 3 to 4 different groups with that question to see the responses I get.
Yeah, that's a great idea. All right. So
Are,
when we started talking before I was recording, you mentioned that you know everything. So let me hit you up with a random question. How do you take care of a vulture?
Well, taking care of a vulture is actually a whole complicated deal. To hold a vulture, you're going to want to hug the wings around its body like this. Make sure the legs and tails are pointed downwards. Note this is a front facing vulture. That
Hmm.
way, you do not have the legs and tail getting tangled up and possibly injured. And you may need to support and help hold the neck and head depending on how the vulture is feeling.
Hmm.
Vultures tend to be rather resilient. I'm most familiar with the turkey vulture because I'm in Ohio. They're the ones with the bubblegum heads.
Hmm.
But black vultures are also known for being very social and friendly when you get to know them, along with turkey vultures.
Oh,
Ask zookeepers and wildlife rescuers who work with them. Which is why I will go on my one of my many soapboxes. I collect them, of course. Who doesn't this day and age? Which is if you have a mice or bigger pest problem, please do not use poison because the mice will get out of your house or your bigger pest. I don't know what you deal with. It could be chupacabras over there. And they will usually leave the area and die. With your smaller animals like your mice, your birds of prey, especially owls, will go and get them. And you know what happens if you eat something poisoned.
Yeah.
Great, you've now taken out an owl. And you might take out if something stops to eat on that owl as well. Vultures, and this is in areas where we have bigger things being poisoned, such as this chupacabra you have. If a vulture eats that chupacabra you just poisoned, great, you've taken out a vulture. And since vultures are important to keeping our ecosystem running nice and clean, we cannot afford to have the vultures taken out.
Yeah.
It's actually become a problem in some areas in which poison's used for poaching and all that. So,
well, maybe it's just living in Japan that's shown me that humans are a little entitled because they think that they can kill another creature, and these things are living creatures too, and they also have a right to live. And I guess it's living here that I realized that. But so I totally understand what you're saying.
I think it's something that you notice if you're. I think you could live just about anywhere, but if you're just paying attention, at least where I live in Ohio, that there's a lot of that there's a lot of people who will tell you about about please do not do this. We have lots of raptors and snakes on display whenever it's Wildlife Ambassador Day.
Yeah. Well, so there's a lot of people looking out for the animals.
Also, we also dissected owl pallets at least twice in school.
Oh, okay.
Which was something I thought was normal until someone informed me that no, that's just a Midwest thing to dissect owl pallets.
Wow.
But yeah, some people, of course, not all people, not as many people as we should, but at least a lot of us try.
Yeah. I'm sure that some of that ends up winding up in your stories. Is anyone in your family also a writer, by the way?
My mom is the other half of Deadfishbooks.
Oh.
She was a writer before the big indie boom. So she's been on the cusp of learning how to self-publish before there was Amazon. And let me tell you, it was real rough before Amazon. Well, Amazon is evil. At least I can say it's probably one of the best platforms we have out there for print on demand books. We now have some other options, of course, but before then, they're competing with Amazon. But before then, you had to do whole print runs and then sell it out of the back of your truck, basically.
So it was hard.
But she's the other half of Deadfishbooks. She writes science fiction and fantasy, and occasionally horror. Not as much as I do. She mostly writes it by accident.
That's funny. Writing by accident.
And my sister, my twin sister, who does not look like me, fraternal, writes for the Geekly Grind, which is a website dedicated to reviewing games, movies, anything geeky. She likes video games a lot.
That's why you knew the game when I mentioned before I was recording.
I also consume gaming YouTube videos a lot. I have a visual impairment that can make playing games hard. So Let's Plays are really great for, I wish I could play Resident Evil games if it wasn't for the fact that our character doesn't believe in flashlights.
Yeah. It took me way too long in that game to figure out how to shoot. That was back when it was on Nintendo something, like the early Nintendos. And I couldn't
once died to Skeleton and Eternal Darkness because I could not figure out how to face my character.
Yeah. That didn't make you give up on him.
It was at a friend's house, so I could not continue the game because it was during a party. And I did once manage to beat a boss in Bloodborne, which is about as far as I got on the game, in which I can't tell you how I did it because I faced into the wall. My camera was pointing up at the ceiling. And I just kept spamming the attack button until I got the boss defeat cut screen.
Oh, yeah. I'm only good at those fighting games, and I always shock my friends because I'll suck at other games when we're playing together. and they put on a fighting game and I just destroy them. But any other
I
game, I'm bad at like that with the turning.
I'm pretty good at Monster Hunter.
Oh, nice.
Mostly with Monster Hunter World. I played some earlier versions, but um, I could not get through a earlier version because my friend remembers this because it was playing it with her, in which a certain monster, Brachydios, kept punching me to a cut screen. Because back then it didn't have the power to render the whole area, so it had to do a cut screen for each little bit area. So he would just keep punching me across the map into cut screens. Get back out, dust myself up, and get punched into another cut screen.
Sounds sounds familiar. Well, it sounds like you have a lot to do. So while you're writing, is there anything else that you do that
Um,
might keep you inspired?
I like to when I'm actually writing, I either like to listen to music. Usually I pick up one of those right multi-hour long mixes on YouTube.
Oh,
Lo-fi is a popular one, but occasionally fantasy music. Right now with this October, it's all dark synthwave over here.
hmm.
Getting our John Carpenter feels on, even when we're not writing horror. Ill-Advised Record which does publish some writing and music, actually does have several mixes for those who would like that sort of thing.
Hmm.
There's also a ton of other creators out there. That's just one I'm like, oh, and they're also a publisher.
That sounds great.
For inspiration, usually it's yelling at movies or video games or whatever about various plot things and go with you wasted a perfectly good plot or you wasted a perfectly good character.
Yeah.
Or in Waterworld, wow, you wasted a perfectly good premise with wow, that's some really terrible world building off of that premise.
Well, I guess I'm too easy. I just watched that movie and went, "Hey, that was fun." Then I went to the next thing. A lot
Well,
of
it's
people.
because I played Monster Hunter. I watched it like some years ago for the first time.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting here going, okay, this is a world with these deep sea fish and all that. And Monster Hunter, one of his aesthetics is that all these monster parts get used in building design and all that. So I'm sitting here going, man, this would be so much cooler if you were seeing like instead of wood, which I don't know where we get the wood from, we are seeing this all built out of fish bones.
Yeah, that's a good
This
point.
these giant fish bones, and then you have like the jaws, you have these shark-like jaws for the big house and
Hmm. Yeah. So the movie had more world building to do than it did.
yeah, I spent the whole time going, but where does the wood come from if there's no ground?
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
that led to us going, well, we'd probably convert ocean liners and cruise ships into floating islands when the gas runs out.
Hmm.
They basically and me going, how much land mass can you make up out of the plastic raft that we have floating in the ocean?
Yeah, this is exactly why I try to not think during those movies because it'll just go into places like that. That's
Well, this is what we call great inspiration, folks.
yeah, that would inspire a better story for sure. I'm sure you got something else out of it.
Yeah,
But
so
go ahead.
I'm just saying that's example. Next time you're watching something, you could go, I don't like that. You could sit there and imagine what a better plot would be, and then you can sit down and write it.
Yeah, I think that that's a good idea even when you read, if you're reading a story and you don't like it, well, how would you make it better? And then you can make another story, right?
As someone who's been looking through submissions for anthologies, I have spent quite a few time looking at stories and going, okay, the feedback we need to give is strengthen this, we need more of this, yada yada.
Mm.
Critique groups are good for helping to build up your skills in that if you don't want to commit to publishing a whole anthology.
Mm. Yeah, anthologies are not an easy feat, especially when a bunch of reviewers reject every story that comes in for a month. So, so yeah.
We're still small enough that we're just simply happy that people send stories in. They're less happy if you send them with lavender font. Please do not do that.
Yeah, I don't know why people don't follow guidelines. It's like the leading reason why they get rejected.
Well, in this case, we're like, we have a strong suspicion this person's a teenager, so we're glad you made it here.
That's nice.
Next time, please read the guidelines.
Yeah. Uh, for a while, I was telling people exactly why the stories got rejected in the anthology, and then people were rude about it. So I just started sending a standard one. Do you
Usually,
send standard ones?
yeah, we've done a lot of standard ones. We have done send back some feedback when we think if we're like you think the story could work this way, would you be willing to rewrite it this way for the anthology?
Oh, yeah.
The question is, can it be salvaged or not? And especially if you're like, okay, this is a teenager, they show some promise, but they could use a bit more work. They will just be happy with any feedback you give them that isn't standard.
Yeah, I did a few of those, like you
Rejections.
mentioned, as well, where I said, wrote to people, are you willing to kink this a bit?
Yeah.
And when they did, it was usually published, and the reviewers liked it after that. So,
Yeah, and that's what you spend a lot of time doing if you're not drowning in submissions like a lot of the bigger markets are.
hmm. So, as someone creative as well as someone who's dealing with submissions, what inspires your creativity to keep going?
What inspires me to keep going,
Hmm.
especially on longer projects, is the fact that the characters will live in my head. Um, what I can only describe as benign schizophrenia because I'm not a danger to myself or society at the moment, besides just a danger to my bank account. I have lived with constant chatter of various characters in my head for well over a decade, in which I'm like, well, I know if I write the story, they usually shut up for a while. If I write this thing, then they'll be on the paper and out of my head.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's also a great way to know when you're it was last night. I can totally relate. Last night I was telling my fiance that I was just having an internal argument about something for a story, and she was just listening. And I go, that's when you know when you're talking to somebody and they're okay with it, this kind of story, that they're
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So you must have a
Well,
great partner too, to have these internal stories and they're just like, okay. Yeah.
yeah, look, my job is to keep talking to keep him from falling asleep while driving. So that's when it's great to talk about that sort of thing. Because like I don't care what you talk about as long as it's somewhat coherent and interesting.
Yeah, I more just get you talk too much, but yeah.
I I probably should make a whole blog post about the fact that one of the characters from a book I started in teenagehood, which don't worry, people, has been rewritten at least twice and a song is third rewrite. It
Hmm.
is not his original version from teenagehood. The
It's a
characters
good
just
one.
refuse to leave me alone.
Hmm.
That there's a whole journey of me learning about two spirits and learning more about gender identity and actually understanding a character's gender identity over the course of 8 years, which is a bizarre thing to say about an imaginary person who lives in your head.
Hmm. It could just be development. I think that's a good way to develop. Just slow but
Yeah,
steady.
its development is what technically is, but it ends up feeling more like you're learning something. You're like, oh, this didn't really click before, but now I understand this and I understand what your deal's about.
Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
is wild because I had no clue this existed when I first started imagining this character.
Hmm. Well, so
Which
you
is
have
something
sorry.
which is something other people have talked about, which we can have a whole discussion about the role of the subconscious and the creation and all that.
Hmm. All right. Well, you have these characters who live a while in your head. What are your writing goals with all that?
My writing goals is to do a novel series, so at least we have those characters out of my head. To do some other standalone novels, including, as I said, Dieselpunk Naringa, because it was originally written to pitch to a Dieselpunk anthology, and that was a aesthetic that I think is works well for Naringa, the woman who pulled the sea into shape.
Hmm.
Something about her just seems to match well with the idea of grease and machine work and machine shop. And I keep threatening to write a sequel to The Great Gatsby, and which takes place in Hollywood and features Gatsby the Vengeful Ghost.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
And
I'd read it.
Nick on the Great Depression Hollywood studio era of revenge and whatever skullduggery comes our way.
Hmm. Sounds great. Yeah,
Also, people keep asking me to go write some other novels. And one person has told me that they will seriously read a book I wrote, which was a response to a question: if someone paid you $1 million, would you write a sequel to Moby Dick?
hmm.
And which I told them that, oh yes, this we have the cover of Ahab surfing on his coffin with He lost his ship, his boyfriend, and his pay, and now he's out for revenge.
Hmm.
And somebody's like, I would read that book so hard.
Yeah, that sounds like a good book. So you're gonna write that? When are you gonna get started?
Probably after I finished the Gay Leprechaun novella that I came up with a joke, and people are like, "No, I want to read the story in which a man falls in love with a leprechaun," which all came up from a joke with, "Why else do you think you find us at the end of Rainbow's Laddie?"
Hey, why is it all the leprechauns are men?
That's because all the leprechauns we see may be out on drunken misadventures.
That's why. Okay. Well, I mean, girls go in drunken adventures too.
Yeah, but they go in groups.
That's
This is where we
true.
get into some weird things in which leprechaun we know comes from Ireland, but there's several different folk traditions because this is oral folk tale, and if you've ever have any sort of story that's told in your family, you know there's 5 people who tell it, and there's 6 different versions.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
gotta remember when you talk about folktale and whether or not this is folktale accurate to the folktales, this has been told over hundreds to thousands of years. There's a bajillion versions of the because oral stories change with the audience and with who's telling it, which leads to the idea of there being a different name, a different color scheme for groups of fairies compared to a solo fairy. A leprechaun you might notice is almost solo and wears green while the bands are wearing red. And that
Hmm.
comes from one of their traditions. So I'm saying the leprechaun ladies, given that ladies like to go out and drink
Hmm.
and groups, would probably be all in red and causing misadventures and thus might go under different names. Since one place put it that it could be that the leprechaun is in fact this other being, but just when it's on a drunken binge and when it's a respectable member of society is called by a different name.
Oh, I see. Maybe a femicon.
Yeah, it's so so as I said, that leprechauns, when you get back to the root of a go back to some of these original folk tales and start looking at things get a lot more vague than they get clear.
Yeah.
And fairies are kind of what I call those universal stories we have about things in between. In
Hmm.
Japan, I would say yokai and
Hmm.
ghosts fill that role in these stories of we
Oh.
can't really classify it.
Hmm. Yeah.
What's a yokai? It often is translated to demon, but if you start looking individual yokai, that doesn't really work for how we think of demons.
I even saw a version that said water demon. I go, it just depends on what you're looking at.
Well, as I said, we have foxes are off foxes, become seven tails and um are often a common yokai, very merchandisable.
Kitsune in
And we
Japanese.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that translated to the West is fox demon. But if you look at the fox, they are mischievous,
Hmm.
often cause trouble, but not always cause trouble. And if they last long enough, they become givers of great wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
So you're looking at a being that isn't fully animal, isn't fully human, and doesn't real is something in between and be can't really be categorized. And a lot of strange yokai like there's a giant in the sea that watches you.
Hmm.
Most
Yeah.
of the time it just watches you. Sometimes it might crash the ship, but most of the time it just watches you.
Hmm.
That's as I said, that doesn't fit into our Western idea, which heavily influenced by Christian mythology, because there's a whole nother discussion about what we think about demons versus what's said in the Bible and then what gets added later on and
Hmm.
yada yada. Especially if you go back to what demons meant in earlier times in that culture.
Hmm.
Demons could easily have been that kind of weird in between I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Anti-hero. Hmm.
Anti-hero is not just the motivations, it's the fact that nobody can seem to be clear on what exactly they are. What
Oh.
is a fairy? It can be huge, it can be tiny, it
Hmm.
can be this weird looking grasshopper dude, it can be this pretty lady, it can look like anything.
Hmm.
If you go up to Scandinavia, you have trolls and elves, which follow the same rules. Trolls can be huge, trolls can be tiny. Trolls
Hmm.
often have animal tails, but not always.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we have and where this comes from, I'll leave that to smarter people than me to talk about if this is if this has a truth or is a psychological truth or has a physical truth to it. but it's just a pretty universal thing along with the hungry dead.
Hmm.
And sometimes the hungry dead combine into that, and then you get some real weirdness, such as vampires.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I'll just
Vampire rules. Oh, sorry.
vampires. Go ahead.
Vampire vampire rules, as we like to think of them, don't really exist until Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you start applying the term vampire to things that are not from that tradition, things get really weird.
Hmm.
Such as the fact that you could unknowingly be a vampire in Southeast Asia if you don't know that your head flies off at night, um, sucking out people's blood and returns to you in the morning.
Well, one time I was observing a mosquito and I just noticed how similar they were to vampires, and and thought, what if they were actually the inspiration? Because they, they hide during the day and they
I
suck blood and they're afraid
I
of
think
garlic.
I think the part of inspiration, the hungry dead as a general trope, I think comes from us observing is this fear that the dead has come back to consume us.
Oh,
And I think this is coming from absorbing epidemics that go through a community.
hmm,
When one member of the house dies, and then you start seeing a lot of members of the house dying, it's
hmm,
easy to think that that person has come back for the rest of their family. This
yeah,
is why vampire as a thought really kept hold in tuberculosis, which you can look at Feeding the Dead about the
hmm,
New England vampires and related tuberculosis epidemics, because tuberculosis is a weird disease. To
yeah,
us, we're like, oh, that's easy. We can see the germ and all that. If you're trying to just diagnose this thing by the symptoms, it has so many different presentations in which it will kill one person quickly, and then the next person, it can go dormant and then come back years later.
hmm,
As I said, it's a really weird disease if you only had the symptoms to go by, which is what we had for the most part,
hmm,
which leads to maybe it's a dead, maybe the first person who died, especially they died quickly, it's a dead that's coming back, such as since tuberculosis causes a waste away.
hmm,
And you could also think of other diseases. I mean, think of how diabetes might run through a family that you couldn't treat back then.
yeah. Hmm. That's an interesting one. Where can people find you when they want to read your work? Find
You
your
can
work with
find
you.
you can find all my socials at deadfishbooks.com.
Hmm,
And
okay.
yes, I do update my other writing page occasionally on Facebook, but
Hmm,
that's where you can find most of the socials at, including our Twitter or Instagram, which we mostly use Instagram for posting pictures and Plague Doctor shenanigans, and the newsletter that I will resurrect or transition to the new MailerLite, close down the classic service and start a new and transport us all to this new MailerLite service. It's been a learning curve, people.
hmm. Yeah, the Deadfish website is pretty cool. I think people should check it out. I like your design. Hmm,
Yes, you can thank my mom for that. She did that too.
hmm. All right. Well, tell her I said thanks. It's nice. And
I will.
before I let you go, could I show you a few things about the anthology? I think it's
Sure.
better than just suddenly cutting to just me and showing people merchandise, is showing the writers what we have.
Let's see the
Because
merchandise, which I
cool.
think I might have seen before at the Redbubble store.
Oh, you saw it? Yeah, that's it. So I don't know if I'm going to show you anything new then.
Well,
Getting your
all I
perspective.
know is I need more tote bags in my life.
Oh, tote
Despite
bags.
the
Yeah, you saw the store?
yeah, at least thought there was a tote bag. It might be.
Yeah,
Oh
there's a
no,
tote
that's
bag
it.
somewhere.
Oh, there is. I also know I have one for Necromantic that I need to take some pictures of.
Mm. Yeah, I'm glad that you've seen it. It tells me that people are checking it out, and it's really great news. It helps
Yes.
to pay the editors and the artists. That's what I'm going to use this for. So yeah, there is a tote bag.
Yeah.
I'll show you somewhere here. Here, tote bag. Yeah.
Yes, I will need to order something of my own.
Mm.
Also, it reminds me that we need to get the Deadfish Redbubble store up and going, if nothing else, because we keep coming up with silly idea for face mask.
Oh, you know what? If you do that, let me know, and I'll put a link in your video when it's out. Um, one more thing I
Well,
wanted
it's
to tell you. Did you know
probably
that
not
the
going to be
book?
for a
Hmm?
couple months because probably not going to be for a couple months because got two projects to finish and then sit down and design all the mask.
Okay. It only takes a few
As
minutes to design these on Redbubble.
oh yeah, no, it's more the fact that I have it written in three different locations.
Hmm. It could be because I already had the designs ready that it was so fast. It's
Yeah, it's because he had the designs ready. Is more of the fact that I'm just gonna have to sit there and go, okay, does everyone approve of the does okay, is everyone happy with the font?
Hmm,
Is everyone happy with how this looks? Great, now we can move on.
hmm. Yeah.
We already have the logo and we can do that with the Deadfish logo easily enough. That would be easy. We just also live in face mask
Hmm,
because look, I've already been patient zero for the whooping cough outbreak in high school.
hmm.
Let's not do that again.
Oh, so are people still wearing face masks in Cleveland?
Dayton,
Cleveland,
not
Chicago,
that
sorry,
much.
Ohio.
Not that much, but we still are because um I'm immune compromised but young, which makes me a perfect vector
Hmm,
because I'm not frail enough to be taken out by disease immediately, and I'm stupid enough to keep
hmm,
trying to go along with my day-to-day work even while sick.
hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's how I got to be patient zero for the whooping cough epidemic.
And I didn't mean to accidentally say Cleveland. I had in the back of my mind to mention you that my grandmother was from there. So,
Yeah,
so that's why it
so is
came
my
out like
dad.
that. Oh yeah? Oh nice.
My dad's from Cleveland. My
But that's
mom's from
why
Baton Rouge.
it's also
Not
why I
Baton
did
Rouge. She's from
Dayton.
Shreveport.
Baton Rouge? Okay.
Yeah, she's from Shreveport actually, which is an hour from Baton Rouge.
Okay. Nice. One more thing I want to show you. Were you aware that the book was out?
No.
I wasn't either until I suddenly saw a post on Facebook because I've been so busy at work. And then I saw a post on Facebook about it being out already. And I go, oh, well, that's a
Okay.
surprise. But it's actually discounted if people are watching by the time this is out. And the price is going to go up to $42 later. But this is a discounted rate for people. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it free for the writers I wanted to, but I just couldn't.
Hey, if you can do cost printing, that's what a lot of places do for hardbacks,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
along with sending out free PDFs
Hmm.
because you have to make those as and files because you have to make those to get those on Amazon. So those are easy to
Hmm.
send out to everyone.
There's a few kinks to work out in the post, but I'm going to get on it. But yeah, it's available as of now, I guess, or as of October. So,
My most recent publications that are out right now is in the latest in the Halloween episode, in the Halloween issue, not episode of Spooky Magazine. I wrote some humorous haikus.
okay, I'll have to check it out.
And I have a story out in Sacrifice Anthology
Hmm.
from Duskbound Books, which is a charity anthology going to little lending libraries,
Hmm. I hope people check it out.
and which that one was inspired by a dream.
Hmm. Oh, so a dream. Okay, so after the dream, you got up and wrote it.
I got up and read part of the dream, which was the inspiration, and then went with going off of my obsession from Egyptian mythology back when I was a kid. What does it mean when your name is part of your soul? What does it mean when you change that your name? Does that mean that part of the soul is lost?
Hmm. Is that a
And
prompt?
what do you say?
Is that a prompt for this? Is how the story got going?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds
And
good.
for some people who are really enjoyed, and you can tell those are people who also went through Egyptology phases as kids.
Hmm. Yeah, it just sounds like a fun read. I didn't go through an Egyptian anything. It sounds fun.
Oh yes, I just know that anyone who can goes with, oh look, they identified the parts of the soul using the operation table from the from that sorry game.
Uh, yeah.
Probably has some shared childhood memories with me.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and
Yep.
I'll let
Thank
you
you for
know.
having me.
Yeah.